Sometimes the biggest threat to your relationship isn't cheating, it isn't distance, it isn't even your partner. It's the story your brain writes when it doesn't know what's happening. She goes quiet. A reply takes way longer than usual. Suddenly, your brain finishes the sentence. She's losing interest. Except, she never said that. Within seconds, your brain has connected dots that don't actually exist. And if you believe that story, you can accidentally create the very problem you were trying to avoid. I call this the story trap. One day, I sent my partner a text. 3 hours went by, nothing. My brain didn't wait for evidence. It immediately filled in the blank. She doesn't care enough to reply. By the time she finally texted back, I'd already convinced myself something was wrong between us. Turns out she'd been standing in front of her closet, trying on outfits, with her phone buried under a pile of clothes. She wasn't pulling away. She wasn't upset. She wasn't ignoring me. She simply hadn't seen my message. Nothing had actually happened, except the story inside my head. I still catch myself doing this today. The difference now is I don't trust the first story my brain hands me. So why does this happen? Because your brain is constantly trying to answer one question: what's about to happen next? Most of the time, that's incredibly useful. It's how humans learned to avoid danger before danger arrived. But here's the problem. Your brain evolved in a world where silence could mean a predator was nearby, where getting separated from your group could be life-threatening, where missing a warning had serious consequences. Today, the danger is someone taking 3 hours to reply. But your brain didn't evolve for text messages. It evolved for survival. Your brain knows how to read facial expressions, tone of voice, body language. A text message strips almost all of that away. So your brain does the only thing it knows how to do. It fills in what's missing. And here's the catch. Your brain would rather be wrong with certainty than sit in uncertainty. To your brain, a bad explanation feels safer than no explanation at all. So it fills the gap. And because our ancestors survived by assuming danger first, your brain usually chooses the worst explanation before the most likely one. That's why she doesn't care enough to reply. Arrives much faster than she's probably just busy. Missing information becomes a story. The story starts feeling like a fact. And once it feels like a fact, you start acting like it's true. That's the story trap. And here's where it gets worse. Once your brain writes the story, it quietly becomes the editor of reality. It stops looking for the truth. It starts looking for proof. A short reply becomes, "See, she's annoyed." A different tone becomes, "I knew something was wrong." A delay the next day becomes, "Here we go again." None of those things actually prove anything. They're the same ambiguous signals as before. But once your brain believes a story, it starts collecting evidence that supports it while quietly ignoring everything that doesn't. Psychologists call this confirmation bias. Looking back, that 3-hour wait wasn't evidence that she didn't care. It only became evidence because my brain had already decided how the story ended. And this is where thoughts become actions. The story itself isn't the problem. The problem is what the story makes you do. You assume she's upset, so you pull away. She notices you've become distant and wonders what she did wrong. Now she's acting differently because you're acting differently. Ironically, your reaction creates the exact outcome you were trying to avoid. The relationship changes, not because the story was true, but because you treated it like it was. So how do you stop it? 3 things. First, separate what happened from what your brain added. What happened? She hasn't replied in 3 hours. What your brain added? She doesn't care enough to reply. The first one is a fact. The second one is a story. Your brain writes that second sentence so quickly. It feels like they're the same thing. They're not. Second, ask instead of guess. Your brain wants to solve uncertainty by itself. Don't let it. Ask instead. Hey, everything okay? 5 seconds of asking can replace 5 hours of overthinking. Third, remember this. Feelings are real, but feelings aren't proof. Feeling ignored doesn't automatically mean you're being ignored. Sometimes your brain is reacting to a story it wrote all by itself. So the next time your brain hands you a story, Don't ask, how do I feel? Ask, what do I actually know? Because your brain can be absolutely certain and completely wrong. Don't believe the first story your brain tells you. Fact check it. Curiosity saves more relationships than certainty ever will.